Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. It's been a few weeks, but I've been taking a little bit of a break. In that break, I have finally decided to pull the trigger, and I'm gonna be cutting a giant hole in the roof of my camper this weekend. I got the tent off, I've got both of my awnings off, I've got all the lights taken down. This is something I've been contemplating doing since before I even bought the camper, trying to think of what's the best way to air condition the inside of this camper. I love that zero breeze, I still have it in there. But guys, when it's 110 degrees outside, that zero breeze, as good as it is, still has a hard time really making it like icebox cold, which is what I like. This air conditioner was $7.95 on Amazon with a $200 off coupon, bringing it down to $595. This is the 12 volt AC from VLIM. Now, if you guys, I've watched probably 50 videos in the last week or two on installs of these things, and they've all had problems, they've all ran into issues. I know I'm gonna run into issues because these are really made for RVs and they have a lot thicker roofs than that camper. So I know that's gonna be my problem number one. Problem number two is gonna be finding a way to route these two 6-gauge cables. I think I'm gonna have to cut a hole and use another one of those marine Seaview type entry glands that I used for my antenna mount on my roof, which I've already bought. I'm gonna walk you through that, show you how it works, because I didn't show you on the other one. But this is a 9500 BTU air conditioner. It weighs about 45 pounds. So the cool thing is, it's extremely light. I'm not gonna go through all of it. I mean, here's the main panel. These vent blades actually rotate and oscillate too, which is kind of cool. So it'll kind of help distribute some of that air. But that's what that is, 9500 BTU, 12 volt only rooftop AC. I'm hoping that's gonna be enough. Now, I will say, as luck would have it, I do have another, I think 11.5 BTU coming that I'm gonna test out to see what the difference is between 9500 and 11,500 BTU. But the good thing about all of this is that it takes a standard 14 by 14 hole. So I cut out a little template, which is going to be the exact size of like a max air vent on your RV. Both that air conditioner that I have in the back of my truck will fit it. The other air conditioner I have coming will fit it. So if none of these ACs work, if I just can't find a way to make it work, I am going to end up buying a max air fan and using that along with my zero breeze. That's the deal. I finally decided that I probably, in all honesty, will never use that rooftop tent that was sitting up on top of my crossbars up here. So I am gonna take this off, which will leave me room for a rooftop AC or a max air fan. So first things first, guys, it's like 100 degrees out here already. I'm gonna get some fans loaded up in my garage, try to get some air circulating. I'm gonna take this template that I made, again, 14 by 14. In fact, that VLIM, that smaller AC unit, you can cut out a 14 by 9 hole to minimize the cutout size. But again, if this whole setup doesn't work, I wanna be able to put a max air or some type of RV exhaust and intake fan, which uses a standard 14 by 14 size. So first thing we gotta do, A, get some air flowing up here. And then B, I'm gonna figure out how to get you guys up on top of the camper, because it's gonna take me a good week and a half probably to get this exactly where I want it on top of my roof and start cutting a hole. I'm not looking forward to it. I am pretty certain there's no wiring in this camper. I've looked for studs, I've pressed for studs, I can't find any type of studs. I think this is just a flat sheet. Think being the optimum word. So again, I have a feeling we're gonna run into some issues, but it's not gonna be anything that we can't overcome or fix once I run into it. So let's get to cutting. All right, guys, well, if you can hear me, I do have this fan up here. It's so hot. I'm pretty certain I've got my 14 by 14 square centered where I want it using this template. But I'm gonna go, because I have to take into account the front of the AC unit. I don't want it to hit. I don't want to have to take these crossbars off. And I gotta make sure I have enough room on the back where the back end of that AC unit sits to where it doesn't hit this rear crossbar either. I think I have it done, but I think actually now what I'm going to do, I'm going to grab that AC unit, do my best to get it pulled up here myself, and just kind of lay it over here on the side to make sure that it's going to fit in between these crossbars. Not really sure the best way to get this accomplished, but this thing is so light, it's really not, it's not terrible. But famous last words. Oh, look at that. That wasn't bad at all, really. So this is kind of just a puzzle. I got to make sure all the pieces fit before I go cut a 14-inch hole in my roof. So I do have this sitting on a towel right now. Oh, I got plenty of room, guys. Sweet. So it's sitting about where it's, you know, once I cut the hole, I've got it good. This is a lot smaller than I guess thought. I didn't measure it, but I got about 5 inches in the front and 8 inches in the back. So I think we're good to go there. All right, well, problem one has been found, and I found a stud. I can't find them up here on the top using the stud finder. This is like some type of really thin metal roof. I went underneath and found a stud, and of course, it was sitting about right here where I originally had my original cutout. So I have pushed it forward. I had room to make the cutout more closer to the front edge of this crossbar. However, I'm not leaving myself a lot of room if I do test out another bigger AC unit. I don't know the amount of space you need between the front of the AC unit and where it actually drops down into the hole. So worst case scenario is I have to actually move these crossbars and fill in the holes, the bolts that are going through the trailer. The crazy thing is, I drilled a hole to try to mark it where I was at on the inside, and that's a good, let me measure how much drill bit I have sticking out of this. 4.5 inches of drill bit did not go through the top of this roof, through the inside of my camper. So I had no idea that these campers were insulated that well. I figured it would be 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches thick. So the good news is I might not have to build a spacer underneath that I was thinking I was gonna have to use, so the inside is kind of flush mount. But I am very surprised that the roof is minimum 4.5 inches thick. Get this done. There's a hole in my roof, kinda. All right, I think that went pretty well. Yep, I can see that stud right here that I almost hit if I wouldn't have remeasured. All right, I'm gonna get a shot back and clean all this mess up. Get that fan cut back on. All right, well, the magic of Amazon. I got my Sika Flex in here, so we're gonna put a pretty good bead all along the outside of this foam gasket. We'll let this sit for a few hours, and then we'll get the AC unit pressed back down, and then I'll tackle the process of getting this cable routed to the back, where I'm going to show you how to use both a battery and be able to use this via shore power. All right, guys, day 2. It is so hot and humid here, it took about 24 hours for that Sika Flex, that sealant that I put around that gasket, to actually cure. So now that it's cured, I went ahead and I just placed the air conditioning in the hole right here. One of the cool things about this is a lot of these ACs, you have to put a piece of foam in the back to keep it level, because there is a lot of overhang on these units. This just has little screw-in rubber feet, if that's coming through, and you can screw them in or out to raise and lower the back end of this. So I actually like that feature a little bit more than having to put foam spacer blocks in the back. So the unit's on top. I'm gonna go inside and show you how you actually mount this to the ceiling. I got really lucky with my setup, I think, and I'll explain why when we head inside. A lot of the problems, and sorry, I don't have any lights in here because I had to take my ceiling LED light off, and I got to reroute that somewhere. But a lot of the problems that I see is these AC units come with this mounting bar. I guess the only bad thing about this one is it only comes with one. I guess because it's such a smaller AC unit, a lot of them come with 2 bars. This one only comes with 1. But you take these all thread, and it's got a short piece of all thread and a long piece, and you screw them in up here. I think you get the idea. All the videos that I've watched, everyone has to put this bar on the visible side of the roof, meaning it sits like that. In my scenario, I've actually got a little bit of space to put up here and keep it closer up to the, I guess, to the bottom of the AC unit. And that means that when I go to put the faceplate on, it should be flush to the ceiling, and I won't have to build like a spacer. I thought I was gonna have to build some type of like plywood spacer so I didn't have a gap between the top of my ceiling and the actual faceplate of the AC unit. I think it'll make more sense once I get going, but I'm gonna get this bar installed up here. I gotta kind of use 2 hands to get it in between that sandwich of roof material that I have, and then I'll show you what it looks like. All right, it's so hot in here. So I got the bracket installed, and it's just this piece right here, and I got the nuts screwed over the all thread, and now I just got to torque these both down, basically hopefully to the same torque setting. I don't have a torque wrench here, but I think I can kind of guess it. And what that's going to do is squeeze this foam gasket that's up here. It's going to kind of create like a sandwich effect where it squeezes down and seals, hopefully, this AC unit. That's how they all work. And then I've got, it's not really needed, but I got this window air conditioning unit foam. It's just like 2.5 inch by 2.5 inch square foam. And I'm just going to stick it in all of these openings up here. Probably not needed, but I figure it's not going to hurt. So I'm going to get these bolts tightened down, make sure I don't see any sunlight up here all along the edge, make sure I got a good seal, and then we're going to get it cut on because it is hot. And heads up, regular sockets won't work. I got to go get a deep socket because these threads are so long. Standard sockets kind of bottom out. So all right, well, I got both of these nuts torqued down to pretty much equal, I think. Now the next thing to do is just attach this faceplate, and it just comes with a couple of screws. and there's 2 wiring harnesses, and you can't mess it up because they're completely different. So we're going to plug these in and hopefully get this mounted to the ceiling, and hopefully it's going to be flush. We'll see. All right, guys, got a little frustrated. My GoPro died because I got so frustrated I forgot I was even recording. 0 out of 5 stars for installing this. This whole process should have been the easiest out of this whole ordeal. But VLIM, if you're listening, guys, you need to make your wires about 6 inches longer. I had to stretch and pull, and I mean, I barely got it to fit with the amount of wires that are up here. It's kind of silly how little wiring is up there. So they're up there pretty tight, which I don't like. And I had to go to Lowe's to get 4-inch screws, because the little like 2 3/4 inch screws that come with this, they were not long enough to reach where the screws go into the little access holes to kind of sandwich these 2 pieces together. These were too short, so I had to go buy 4-inch number 10 screws to get that to work. With all that said, guys, it's up there, and I just temporarily have not cut this thing on yet. In fact, it has a remote. I probably got to put batteries in it, but I have not cut it on yet. But I do temporarily have it hooked up just to a 100 amp hour battery. So let's see what this looks like, and then we'll get to what I thought was going to be the hardest part, minus this, is running the 6-gauge cable somehow neatly. But let's see, cut this thing on. Okay. Modes, I have no idea what any of these mean yet. I'll have to look at the instructions. I'm assuming that's temperature. This is in Celsius. Yeah. Hopefully I can get the hopefully this comes in Fahrenheit. But that's, I believe, on full blast. That's already. Okay, I can deal with that. Yeah, that feels good. I know that this thing oscillates, but I think you have to do it from the remote. So I bet I'm gonna have to go get, yeah, no shocker, no batteries in the remote. So let me go get some batteries, but this is already pumping out cold air. I'll go get a temperature gauge too. AAA batteries. Feels pretty good. Where's the lid? So let's see. Swing flap. Let's see if this works. Hey, look at that. So this thing does rotate. Okay, that's pretty cool. Temp is all the way down. Speed. Okay, that's all the way up. This has been running for maybe, let me close this door because I want to, well, I don't have any light in here. This is obviously not like a 120 volt AC unit. It's quiet. This is on full. .63 decibels. Okay, and this thing's been running for maybe 5 minutes. .60 degrees right now, pumping out 60. And I bet you Okay, there's 56 degrees. I'm not going to say that phrase that I hate, but here's my thought process, guys. Zero Breeze is a great unit. I've used it for 3 years now. With the battery, it's like, gosh, I don't, $1,500, $1,600. This guy up here is $600. And I'm going to show you how you don't necessarily have to run this off of a battery bank. You can configure this to where you can simply use shore power or a generator, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that. I am going to keep a battery back here just in case, but you don't have to run this off of a 12-volt system if you're going to be plugging into shore power or using a generator. That's kind of why I've shied away from these units for so long, is because I didn't want to have to carry around an 800 amp hour battery bank, because that seems silly. Because most of the places that I go, I actually plug into. So I think I found a solution for that. And if I ever do want to run it off a battery, I'm going to be able to quick disconnect. But anyway, I'll show you all that. All right, so I unhooked the battery, the AC unit's off, and this is going to be my first plan. Things might change, but this is a 1200 watt converter. So I've got, these are the direct cables that go directly up into the air conditioning unit. I've got a watt meter here just to see what this thing's gonna pull. Now I don't have this thing cut on, so let's see what happens. So it looks like with just this converter cut on, it is using about 6 watts. I'm going to start it out, well, start it out in eco, see what happens. Okay, not a lot. I can hear it. Let's just put it on strong. $500 watts, 700 watts. $780 watts. Looks like that was the peak once that thing cut on, once that compressor started. All right, it is intensely hot outside, but this is working. I'm gonna let this run for about an hour because I'm curious how hot this is gonna get. That compressor just kind of dialed down, and we're below 700 now. Well, as soon as I say that, about 720. Come on, come back down, man. Okay. So that seems about right, honestly, because this AC unit right now is on its max turbo balls to the wall setting, and the manual says between 400 and 750 watts, and I'm pulling 710 watts right now. So I kind of want to just sit in here. Oh, that feels good. All right, I'm gonna let this sit for about an hour. Now I'm gonna come back and check to see what the temperature is inside. We're in Texas, guys. I don't know what it is outside. It's 120 degrees, it feels like. So we'll see how cool this AC unit gets, the inside of this. Now we are under shade, of course, but it's still hot as anything out here right now. So let's come back in about an hour and see how this is doing. Okay, so it's been about an hour. Like I said, it's August in Texas. It's probably 198 degrees outside. One thing, yes, this RV does condensate like every other roof RV does, and it comes out of this. You can kind of see it dripping right there, maybe. So you have to take that into consideration. This trailer is not level in my garage right now, so it's all kind of going forward. I might try to come up with some contraption, some type of tube maybe, that kind of routes that condensation down over the edge, and might wrap it around here. I don't know. That's something that's I got to think about. But the other thing I wanted to check, this converter to the touch is barely even warm. So that's a good thing. It is not hot at all, which is one thing I was concerned about, keeping this inside my camper. But yeah, I can't even really feel it. The cords, they are not hot at all, and I'm gonna cut about probably 15 feet of these 6-gauge cables off when I route it through my roof and down into the back of my camper. So that's gonna help also keeping these cords a little bit cooler, not having such a long run of cords. So that compressor is not on at the moment, it is just simply blowing air. So let's go inside. I threw a thermometer in here, and I got my light wired so we can at least maybe see in here. Oh my gosh, look at that, guys. 59 degrees in here. That's insane. Let me close this door. There we go. So I did have to reroute this light. It was here, now it's simply there, and I just ran some cords. Okay, I can feel the compressor just cut on again. This right here, guys, this is well, now it says 60. 59 degrees in here. That is crazy. One last thing, that compressor is on, and now that it's kind of the temp, it's kind of steady around 530 watts. So you can expect that type of power that you'll need to support running on the turbo mode on this unit. Once it gets down to temperature, I got up to around 750 watts when I first cut it on, because it was working pretty hard, because it was probably 90 degrees inside there. But once it got to temp inside, I am steady running 530 watts. All right, guys, new day, last update. Kind of have to do these in the morning because it's so hot in this garage, but one of the inherent problems with these 12-volt air conditioning units is actually how to get the cabling into the RV to power it. There's a lot of kind of hacks that you can do, but what I found the easiest is to simply run the cable, drill a hole in the roof. I know that sounds bad, and run it straight down. So this is the 12-volt, the two negative and positive 6-gauge cables coming out of the AC unit, coming down here. I got to clean all this up, guys, but this right here is a Seaview marine cable ingress port. This is a solid rubber plug that it comes with special drill bits, and I've drilled out 2 holes that both of these cables go into. You squeeze this together, and it really is a complete waterproof, pretty watertight seal. I will come back in and put some sealant along here, but I can tell you on the other side, that's where I ran my GMRS antenna cable. Not a single drop has gone through. So let me open up the back and kind of show you where I'm at now, and then I'll give you a bigger update next time I actually take this thing out camping. But the cables come through right up here, and again, I'll probably put some more sealant up there, but they come all the way down, and I just kind of have them. I haven't cut them yet, but they're right here. But this is where I put my converter on the wall, and I have attached to the positive and negative leads a 120 amp quick connect Anderson power pole adapter. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the end of these, I'm going to put the Anderson power pole connectors on that, and then get one of these and attach it to that. So when I get to where I want to be, I can, if I'm plugging into shore power, I can connect directly to my converter. My converter, the power is coming out from the bottom, coming down, and then running up underneath and plugging directly into my power strip. That power strip is rated at 1800 watts, and you guys saw that I never pulled more than 750 watts on startup through this converter. So the cabling's fine, the gauge is more than adequate for the amount of wattage that I'm going to be pulling from that AC unit. So if I'm connecting to shore power, when I get to camp, I plug in right here. That powers the power strip, which in turn powers this converter, which will power the AC unit. Now the reason I'm using disconnects is because my plan is to put my big 460 amp hour battery right here, and also put another quick connect on that battery to where I can connect the RV cables directly to that battery or to this converter, depending on if I'm going to be connected to shore power or if I've got to use a battery. However, that battery that I have is almost 100 pounds, and this shelf is nowhere near strong enough. So I've got to get some 2x4s and really beef up this shelf, put some supports going down and across to really beef this up, because I cannot put a 100-pound battery on the shelf right now. The other option is to simply remove the zero breeze, put the battery down there, but I kind of want to keep that zero breeze down there right now, just so I can have something in the event that this doesn't work. So overall, let's go pros and cons real quick, and I'm going to wrap this video up. Cons: I cannot change the inside display unit to Fahrenheit. That's pretty dumb that VLIM only allows Celsius. I know that's only a big deal here in the United States, but they're selling this in the United States, and Fahrenheit is what we use. Now, I'm always going to keep it on the lowest setting, so it doesn't really matter, but I wish that I could use Fahrenheit display instead of Celsius. The install inside was terrible. We need longer cables to actually get that inside unit attached. That was not very fun, and we need longer screws. Those are the cons. The pros: the price, 600 bucks. That's not cheap, but compared to an EcoFlow or Zero Breeze, way cheaper than the 1,500, 1,700 bucks if you buy the battery with those portable AC units. So they're a lot cheaper. You do have to, of course, cut a hole in the roof. So there's that. Super quiet and ice box cold, 9,500 BTUs. Weigh out your pros and cons. I'm going to be taking this out here in about a week when it's still scorching hot outside to make sure that it does work well, and of course give you guys updates on how that works. But overall, install was about a 6 out of 10 in terms of difficulty. Cutting it wasn't bad, but just everything involved, about a 6, maybe 7 out of 10 in terms of difficulty. But that's just my opinion. I think it turned out pretty well. I'm excited to see how cold it's going to get next week, in 2 weeks. So guys, keep a lookout for when I do take this out. I'll be going giving you updates throughout the whole day and throughout the night on how cold it is, so that should be interesting. But other than that, I'm gonna wrap it up here, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.